This is episode 2 of What's Been Better. This week, we're talking about recovering and how we recover without judging ourselves so harshly. We also talk about the power of our words and how the life we want is manifested from those words. A heads up to the moms and the mother-in-laws, we curse a little. All right, let's get into it. All right, so round 2. Ding, ding.
Right.
Well, I'm Sylvia.
And I'm Lori.
And we are back. If you have not heard last week's episode, the first episode, definitely go back and listen to that because we've got a little continuation and a few questions because, all right, I know that you had adverse words, and one of those adverse words that we added was ghosting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay, we're not going to say ghosting. But what is it called? I put this out. This is this week's tweet. What is it called when the person who disappeared reappears, tells you that they're going to contact you, and then disappears again? If we can't use ghosting, what are we going to call this time? Because this week, I finally, after 11 days, heard back from that other company. And I got a quick apology email and a, hey, do you have time to talk email? And never heard from them after that again. So now we're back in the same boat. And it is not driving me as crazy as before because I'm trying to make peace with all of this. But what am I supposed to do? I can't say that I've been rejected twice. I don't want to say that. But how am I supposed to recover when I'm almost like being pulled back into it?
Right. I think it's a choice, a choice that you get to decide how you want to do this. Right.
Right.
And so, and I will say ghosting is not necessarily one of those adverse words, but I'll put it in there for today because we got some other ones. Right. So, but what I will say about ghosting is it's a label, right?
Yeah.
It's like a label like she's weak or she's late or like labels we put on something that we don't like, right? And so, but the action is somebody didn't respond. Somebody said something, and I think this time, I think they told you they were gonna reach back out to you, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Right. So then there was a promise that was made that was not followed up on. Yeah. Whereas before, I don't know if it was a promise, they just kind of didn't respond or they did something and they stopped. So it's about just recognizing. You don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
If they did what they did, and then life continues unless you have an expectation on it. And then if you have an expectation on it, your feelings get involved.
And we all know that I have enough feelings to go around that I'm trying. I've been really working really hard. After our session this week, I thought, okay, everything will be fine now. I took all the notes and I was like, okay, I'm going to apply these notes and I'm not going to hold the whole ghosting situation the first time over their head. I'm just going to hear them out. Well, when they didn't call the first day and they didn't call the second day, I was like, that's it. I'm going to call. Okay. I'm just going to take this into my own hands. I'm going to call.
Okay.
Well, when I called, I got no answer. So I left a voicemail and I still haven't had that phone call returned. So now I'm like, okay, I have to put this on the shelf and not pick it back up. I have to be done. Because how many times do you get to not communicate with somebody who, as I said, lives and breathes off of communication, but you're not communicating with me?
Right. So then that becomes a non-negotiable for you. And so as you matter to yourself, if you teach them to treat you that you don't matter as much, to yourself, then you're kind of waiting on them. And then they become the thing, they become what matters. And no, you don't need them.
And it's just hard to like not, I think because I know like the story that I want to tell it and I know that it's really important because it's something that's happening right now. And I feel like I have a good perspective and I feel like I have like information that should be put out. But I also am having this feeling of like, okay, just let it go. Just, it's not meant for you. It's not meant for this time. If it comes back around, it comes back around. But it's like, how many times am I going to let it come back around in this manner? And I just don't know, because I feel what you're saying about like, I have a choice. I have a choice to like keep doing this, not keep doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And when you say it this time, it might not be this time with them, but it still might be this time. So we let go of the people who are not interested because they're busy with something else. Right. And so we look at the facts. So that's why I say before, we don't have to label anything. We just notice what we notice. And that's it.
You said that to me. You said that to me before in a session. I have to find my notes. You said, like, what am I noticing about a situation? And then like, also, am I just internalizing it or am I actually feeling it? Or it was something that you said about, is it real? And it's another book that I'm reading. It's called Designing Your Life. And it talks about, are you making a problem a gravity problem? Or is it a real problem? Because a gravity problem, it's nothing you could do about it. Gravity exists. It's going to be there. It's not something that you could just like change, manipulate, whatever. But are you making a problem that is solvable, unsolvable? And I'm trying to not do that. I'm trying to not do that, which is just the most, difficult thing because I am zero to disaster very easily.
Right. So that's one of my adverse words. The knots. Because how you try not to? Because when you try not to do something, you're doing it.
Oh.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yes, because you have to do the thing to not do the thing, I guess.
Right. You're putting the thing in there. It's like, don't fear. You're fearing.
Right. How do you, so then okay.
You do the opposite. What do you want to do instead? Right. Okay. So when you say I'm trying not to do the thing, well, what thing do you want to do?
Okay. Yeah. Ooh. Lori with the too many lessons all at the same time, and my brain's trying to process it too fast.
I know, right? I understand. It's a process and it's a practice, right? So it's cool, that would be, just to really recognize what we want to do. We've been taught, and I think it's about programming. I think we talked about last time, just kind of the programming of things, how life has been. We have been programmed to think about things we don't want instead of looking at life in the way of the things that we do want. Right. Yes. So I say all the time, no one goes to a grocery store with a list of things they don't want. Who does that?
That would be so weird.
Exactly.
So why would you do that in your life? Like, okay, answer me this though. Is it not also, I just said the word not, is it
it's okay.
Also a thing of just because you don't know what you want, isn't it okay to know the things that you don't want so that way you can get to those things?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's a juxtaposition, right? So it's like to say, well, I don't want to go to this mall, right? So you know what you don't want. But a lot of times there are a lot of things you don't want. Right. And it might not be as many things that you do want. And so it could be a finite thing, a finite many of things that you want, right? And so we really have to get into the practice of just thinking about what it is we desire, because either one, we're going to get it. We're creative beings. We create our life every day. So we create our life around things we don't want, and we start to complain about it coming. Well, you asked for it, right? And so let's just take the time to slow it down and really process what we do want, because the things that we do want might not be as many things as we don't want.
How did you come upon the adverse words? Like, did you just realize one day that you were like, I'm not doing this anymore? Or did you have a list?
I didn't.
Always. Oh, okay.
It came as a process of counseling, right?
Okay.
So the different people, and I've had many couples, many individuals coming in, and I listened to them. And I was like, they keep getting what they don't want. Or when you think about, and we'll get on the word should, right? But it came to me. And I really think it's not just that too, but that in addition to being spiritually connected, right? I'm thinking, I'm a person who believes in a creator who created the universe, right? Mm-hmm. And I believe that he sent someone here to die for us, right? That's a whole nother process of things. But also there's this Holy Spirit that comes because he left, right? And so I work hard to connect with that, right? Okay. And so as I connect with that, I'm like, shoulda. as it relates, I'll bring it back. As it relates to something like that, it's like, well, if you could or if you should do something, then do it. And people either do something or they don't do it. So then it goes back to you saying, remember I was saying, just notice what you're noticing, mm-hmm. right? Notice what people do. Notice what you do. And if you do that, if you have intentions on certain things, you're going to do it. Then there's no backstep of things, which therein lies the shoulda. Right. I should have done this. Well, if you live a life of intention, you'll get to it.
I guess too, like if you stick with all the shouldas, then you're just walking in a whole bunch of regret.
Exactly. Which is what? Stuff that you don't want.
Exactly. Stuff that you don't want, stuff that you didn't say, stuff that you didn't want to say, especially at the time of the situation, or stuff that you didn't remember or whatever. And you can't always have all those things right then and there. I think a lot of times when I have regrets, it's because I am I'm very internal. I'm constantly replaying and rehashing and always thinking about trying to do better all the time. Mm-hmm. And when I'm constantly thinking about trying to do better, I'm like, oh, if I would have just, or I should have just all the time, because I'm always looking at, okay, if I did this, this would be better, or the outcomes would be better, or this would sound better, or this would look better, or all these things, instead of just accepting whatever it is, wherever it is.
Right. Without judgment.
There's the hurdle. There is the hurdle.
Without labeling it. And the thing, so, right. And so this is, I'm so glad this is not a counseling session, right? Because then I would say, well, what would you want to do?
Right.
And now I can just say, because we're talking, and I love that because now people can know I'm like giving the answers to a test, right? Mm-hmm. It is learning. If you don't live life with shouldas, what did you learn from that experience? We notice what we're noticing. What happened? Like at the end of the evening, and you get ready to go to sleep and you reflect on your day. If you just recount how life was that day without adding judgment to it, calling yourself stupid or you should have done this and that was foolish and what were you thinking? Like, none of that shit. Like, that happened. Did I like that? How did I feel about that? Was that helpful? Those kind of questions. What did I learn from that? What can I do differently moving forward? And that's why I say you can't ever coulda, right? Because you can't go backwards. Mm-hmm. I've never known anybody to be able to replay something that happened in the past. In fact, the past doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So then if that happens and then the future doesn't exist and all we live in is now, as you think back on the things that happened that weren't so lovely to you or wasn't helpful, what did you learn? You could have just learned, I didn't like how that felt.
Right. Which would be a lot for me because even though I am internal a lot, I don't necessarily always think of how I feel. I think more of how did I make someone else feel, or what will this do for the next person, not necessarily for me. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at like technical things. I'm because I'm into what I'm into, I'm thinking about technique. I'm thinking about sound. I'm thinking about quality. I'm thinking about like being able to do better the next time. I'm always thinking about the next time or the next opportunity or the next chance, and making sure that it's not, it's an improvement, I guess.
Right. And that's awesome. I mean, and that's good. And let's do that. Right. Because we always want to be better. So that's beautiful, but we can be better without judgment.
Yeah. There's the work. There's the never ending work. Cause I remember you saying last week, like, it's unending. It will, you have to keep doing this.
Yeah. It doesn't stop.
Struggle. But yeah.
And so now when you think about that ghosting piece, as we, bring it back, I guess, full circle, what do we do about it?
I'm feeling like I need to be very upfront with people about, number one, my levels of communication that have to happen. I'm feeling like something that we said last week about how above and beyond I will always go. And I said last week, not putting out the full spread, giving people exactly what they asked for when they ask for, I think will save myself the headache, the heartache, the lack of communication if it happens, if it doesn't happen, all those things. I think because I'm always searching for an impression.
Okay.
Can't do it. Don't want to do it. And it's not necessary, I guess.
Well, we have to ask ourselves, what difference does it make about this impression, right? What would be different once you got that impression if you're searching for it? And how is it important to you? And that's just something as you think about it. And then is that impression more important than your own impression?
First of all, I have to start taking my own impression.
Right.
I have to start. I struggle with centering myself. I struggle with thinking about how I feel or how something makes me feel first. If there was like a list of priorities or a list of people or a list of like, I read a lot of books at the same time. I'm terrible at this. I'm also reading Will Smith's book. If you have not read it, read it.
Is it on Audible? I'm an Audible person.
Yes, okay. That's how I'm reading it. That's why I read so many books at the same time, because of Audible and Overdrive with the library. I'm terrible about it. But in the book, it's chapter 3. I was like boohoo crying when I read the chapter, because it's a chapter on performance and always having to perform, and making people feel good is how he perceives that he is loved. And I was like, oh, so this is who I am, because this is exactly how I feel. And just, if you read the book, just get to the part about Jada Pinkett Smith's 40th birthday party, and it will make a lot more sense. But it's this internal thing about, if you made a list of like what your priorities are, where would you be on the list? And I'm never first. I'm always thinking about other people, how I can help other people, how I can make other people feel good. And their expression of how they feel makes me feel.
Right. And I will tell you that every single time it will change. And so then you're here, then you're there, then you're up, then you're down, then you're sideways. And, it's like all these ways, because people change just like you change. And it's about accepting yourself and being okay with letting someone down, because you will. Inevitably, you're going to let somebody down, and they're not going to be pleased. And that's okay. You can't please everybody all the time.
Right.
and I'm not saying it's just to you. I'm saying it, right? Like we can't please everybody all the time. In fact, look at our lives. Are we not as fickle as can be?
Yes.
Like, for instance,
absolutely.
Exactly. Like at night, I'm in the bed. I put the sheet on. I take it off. I put it on. I can't be pleased. It's hot and then I'm cold. It's right and then it's wrong. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
So if we don't get caught up in that rigmarole or whatever of trying to impress people who really at the end of the day, they're not thinking about us.
No.
Honestly. So what are we doing here? So
that's the question to ask all the time, is like, what are we doing here? And I guess that's the other thing of how I feel is I'm doing all these things to make everyone else happy. And a lot of times it's people that I just can't even make happy in the first place. But I also feel like if I'm going to do something, what else am I doing it for? Because I'm not thinking about just doing it for myself.
Right. And it's interesting. Somebody told, I was listening to a podcast or something. I listen to Sirius XM all the time. Urban View, like that's my show. But I was listening to someone on there talking about writing a book. And they said, when I write a book, I write about what I like. And if I write about what I like and I'm pleased with it, other people will be pleased. And I thought that was so profound. Because that's the thing. You're going to meet your person out there. There are so many people who think like you. There's so many people who think like me. And like this podcast, it's not for everybody.
No.
There are going to be people that tap in like, what the hell are they talking about? And tap right out. Okay, cool. Peace out to you, because this is not for you. It's not for everybody. And so how you show up in the world is not for everybody. And if you live your life to bring joy to yourself, because you're to love yourself first. And if you can love yourself first, you can love other people. But if you don't love yourself, how can you love other people? If you don't please you first, how can you please other people? You live in your body. You don't live in other people's body. And so that's for everybody. Like, really check in with yourself. Does this work for me? Because if it works for me, it will work for other people. It might not work for everybody, but you're not everybody.
No. I remember you told me one time in a session that everybody is in their own movie.
Exactly.
It's like, I didn't get it at the time. It is very funny with me. I will write down all the notes. I will go back to them. I'm not, for me to be a former educator,
right,
I don't always learn very quickly. I can learn how to do things very quickly. You could show me how to do anything one time. I could probably figure it out. But actual life lessons, oh man, I need an IEP. I need like extra time. I need all these other things, because life lessons just don't come to me fast. They just
you're not alone. Yeah, but you're not alone. And that's the thing. And it's about reflecting, it's about thinking. And this right here, the things that I say, had I not gone into this area of learning, I wouldn't know it. This is me practicing this every day, right? And just like me jumping into your world, the things that you do and you do so well, you practice this every single day. I'm not an expert in that, but you are, and you do that thing very well. That's why it hit you the way it did when they didn't respond back. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. You put out your best. And so I feel that way too. Like, I'll just tell you, and I think we talked about that. When a client schedules a session and they don't show or they don't call, it hits me, boom, just like that. But then I have to remember, they are not me, and people will do things that I wouldn't do. And then I have a choice immediately. And I act upon my choice of, they don't get to do that to me again.
How long did it take you to get to a point where it hits you, but it doesn't knock you down? Because I look at, everything that happened in January, one thing after another, after another, after another, they all kind of like stacked up on top of each other. And instead of me being able to get hit the first time, reflect, react, and remove or move. I literally let everything just pile and pile and pile instead of taking piece by piece by piece and going, oh, okay. Even though they were connected, even though they were coming from the same people, the same group of people, all directed towards me, I didn't realize or feel like there was a possibility for me to put a shield up here and a shield up here and block and block and block. Almost as if I was like, okay, I'll just take all of it and process all of it at the same time and figure it all out at the same time. How do you get to the point, and how long did it take you to get to the point of like, okay, this happened. Let me figure out what I'm going to do with it and like do it right then.
It's I don't necessarily know how long it took, right? Or when it actually happened. I just know that my time is valuable.
Ooh.
Right. And so I know my time is valuable and I know what I give. And as you do that same thing too, you will stop and you will not allow, because even if they say, I don't want to work with you anymore. Okay. Somebody wants to work with me because I'm the shit. And that's the thing, the knowing, the inner knowing who you are, period. And you're not defined by anything anybody else does. And when something hits you, boom, I ain't like how that feel, handle it. As soon as you feel it, I determined within myself that I'm going to have peace. I asked for it and I'm getting it. And so things that don't represent peace for me, I don't want it. And that's where I would say I will offer that for you. When somebody does something that does not line up with peace for you, cut it off.
The scalpel and just surgically remove it.
Absolutely. And if you can't right then, plan on it. Work toward it. Work towards your peace without judgment.
If there's anything, the theme of this episode is going to be like without judgment, because
exactly.
Yikes. You have to unpack this a little bit more for me of how you go about. Okay, not without judgment, with grace. Because I almost feel like those two are the opposites of each other.
Yes.
To do it without judgment is to also give someone grace.
Exactly.
A little bit of grace and mercy almost.
Right. And I love how you said that, because guess what? Without is the same thing as not. And so as we look toward what we want instead of what we don't want, it is grace. How do you give grace? And that is lovely. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you, because clearly I would not be thinking, I would still be trying to put every foot forward that I can and get off that couch as much as I can if I didn't have these lessons. So thank you, because it's a lot to take in, a lot. And I feel like I said, I just was getting dragged back in to just start the whole process over. And I got to a point when I made the phone call, I was like, okay, if they don't answer, I'm going to leave this voicemail, but I have to convince myself to be done.
Are you?
Yeah, I think so.
How do you know? How do you know you're done?
Little things like I have not opened up the file or like edited or added anything. Even though things are happening, I'm keeping my eye on them, but I'm also keeping my eye on them in terms of like, I still have friends who have kids that are in Georgia public schools. So I want, and I know that they're not informed. So even if I don't do some big article or some feature for someone, there are still people that on a micro level right in front of me that need the information. So to me, that would do more than some article that maybe they'll have time to read, or maybe they won't, or anybody will see. If I can just say to my friends, like, hey, this is happening, pay attention to this, or go and tell your school that you don't want this, or, those types of things. If I can at least do that, then that would do more, I feel like, than some grandiose article that can be written.
I get it. Do you blog?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I've thought about it, but I don't.
I don't either. So I
That's
just didn't know
another thing, of like, do you really want to? So I'm doing enough stuff. I say I don't blog. I don't blog in written form. I do video, TikTok, journaling like that, like some type of documentation, but no, I don't actually write things out. I think because of bad experiences in writing so long ago, it's very crazy that I'm even able to call myself a writer, because I had sworn all that off from having teachers and professors who were just not that great at corrections for a student whose focus was definitely not English, journalism, writing, anything like that. I'm terrible at grammar. Terrible. But instead of taking the time or providing more resources, I was really nitpicked at and those types of things. So it just turned me off of it.
I hear you.
So
they focused on the finite instead of looking at the big picture. They
focused
on, yeah.
So I'm just not like I don't have like an English background, or like I don't have like this written communication thing down. It just was never a thing for me. You can give me some numbers, you can give me some formulas, I can do them with my eyes closed. But to write out a whole process of how I did that, or to report my findings in some like in-depth way, that just wasn't my thing.
I get it.
Yeah. And it's not something that I've taken out time to practice really hard like I do everything else. I think because I just had such a bad taste in my mouth from that. Instead of trying to like, no, take charge of the situation, correct it myself, I didn't do that.
Oh, okay.
I'm very good at, if someone says something that is a nitpick or a dislike at me, I'm very good at never doing that thing again. It's the beginning of the 4 Agreements, when the little girl is singing and the mom screams at her.
Right.
You don't even have to scream at me. You could just question me in the wrong way. You know how Black people do. You could just question me in the wrong way and I'll go, let me never do this again.
Right. And we don't know that that's a judgment. You see what I'm saying? In the moment, we don't know it's a judgment, and it's their perspective, right? So we don't know that that's their perspective, and to say, oh, there are many perspectives to be had. That's just one of them. I don't have to take that personally. We didn't know that.
Right. Which again with the 4 Agreements, like one step to the next, I definitely would hone on taking those things personally and feeling like there's no way for me to improve. There's no way for me to get better. So I just won't do it anymore.
Right.
Which is such a bad idea, because you can do anything. Anybody can do anything.
Exactly. So. It's about growth. Everything is about growth and learning. We never stop. Never stop.
No. It's a never-ending pit, like you said, and a never-ending process. So, yeah. Whew. Okay. So let's go back to recovery, because we talked about all this judgment, and we talked about last week with the rejection. And I feel like because that rejection seemed like it was so harsh to me, I put a lot of judgment. I'm bringing back your word here. I put a lot of judgment on myself. And now I feel like I'm in some form of recovery of, what do I do next? How do I do it next? And how do I make sure that, yes, something else is going to come. Yes, somebody else is going to reject me. Yes, there's going to be more judgment, but I guess I'm trying to alleviate some of it or lighten that blow a little bit. I know you can't you can't always block people from doing things to you. You can make sure that you don't take them personally. But is that it? To just not take it personally?
Well, sometimes it's that for a while, as you're practicing that, right? And as you're getting more in tune with who you are, right? And then as you get more in tune with who you are, guess what? You start attracting people who you are, right? That are like who you are. And like attracts like. Yeah. And it's a whole energy that you let off, right? So as self-judgment goes away and the fear of rejection goes away and the zero fucks start to come in.
I need all of that to show up like ASAP.
Right. and the more you, and this again is the grace piece, right? Mm-hmm. The more you have grace with yourself and show compassion towards yourself, you will attract more people who do the same thing. Yeah. You'll have less rejection is what I'm saying. It'll show up less.
I guess that comes in also of like not trying to fit in all the time, not trying to be for other people, whatever it is that they need, instead of just being me.
Yeah, because you don't fit.
No.
You don't fit. And that's beautiful because some of these people are in a way that the things that they do to you, they do to themselves. It's not on an island. Oh, they're just rejecting you and they're just treating you like shit. Like, no, they treat themselves like shit. They treat their children like shit, their spouses, this is who they are.
Right.
And so as you steer away from that and you steer more toward the people who bring the joy to your life, again, it goes back to how you feel, and I'm saying every day, I want to experience and feel peace. So I move and navigate in areas where peace is.
I have screamed that I want peace for so long, but you would think that would be a part of my daily like wake up mantra, but it's not. I almost need to add that because that's the thing. When anybody ever asks me what I want, I've never really been able to say what job I want or what thing I want to do, because I've said this a million times. I could turn screws to the right for the rest of my life.
Okay.
As long as no one judged me, as long as no one had anything to say about how I turn those screws to the right, I could literally do it. I've never really been like, oh, I want a career and whatever. I thought I did. And it blew back in my face real quick. And there I was being a teacher. Right. I could have probably been a teacher still. I could probably still be teaching. Right. But because there is just too much judgment for me, because there are too many people who do not give themselves or me enough grace and mercy, I can't do it. I won't do it.
But guess what? You give yourself that. And when you do, again, and you add zero fucks to it, they will respect you and they won't judge you. They will judge you in their head, but they won't judge you out loud. And they'll steer clear of you.
I would hope.
Because you weren't, seriously, you won't be the one to be messed with. And what you think about their judgment won't matter. People want to matter.
Yes.
And when they matter less, what will be a reason to you won't even feel it. It just will roll off you so well and you'll do what you do, or they'll push you out and that's fine. Cause then you'll find your thing.
Yeah.
Again, you'll start to attract people in places where you do fit for a time.
There's the key also is like knowing. My mother-in-law has been saying this for more than like 2 decades. Know when to leave the party immediately.
Yes. I love that. That is perfect.
Yeah. But it's something I always have that feeling. What I want to know is to know to not go to the party in the first place. That's the thing I need to figure out how to look for.
Right. But sometimes it's important to go to the party because your presence is important. Ooh. You make a difference every single time, Sylvia. You make a difference. Right. And as long as you know who you are, you can go to any party and you know when to leave.
Yeah.
You don't owe anybody anything and they don't owe you. So there's that.
Yeah.
So leave when you feel like it. And this is the other thing too. You bring the party. The party don't start till you walk in. So that's a whole nother thing.
Which is like a whole thing by itself. That is a whole.
Yes. Honey, you bring the party.
Thing. Yes. Which is terrible. I mean, it's a good thing, but it's terrible because, like I said before, I'm bringing the whole smorgasbord. I'm bringing the decorations. I'm bringing the lights, the music, everything. Instead of just coming and knowing that the party was already going, just join in. Just join. It's okay to join.
You can, but I'm saying your special self, you know, who you are and how special you are, you're going to bring it every time, you know? And so when you leave, you're not losing anything is what I'm saying. And that's for any situation, your job or a relationship. It doesn't matter what it is. You bring your full self to it. Right. So we were talking about before when you talk about the smorgasbord situation. You are over the top. You do your best. That's fine. It's just you knowing that it works for you and that if somebody else doesn't approve of it, you do.
Yeah. We have to do a whole nother episode about me doing the most because I have a very good, and I'm sure my friend will hear this. I have a very good example of a birthday party that she did not want to have. She did not have any ideas for. And I was like, that's okay. I'll do all of it. And just invited myself to throw her child a birthday party. It was a whole thing. It was a full production. But I would have kept doing it had she not said anything. And she's very jokey and very like lighthearted and, you know, all these things. But because I don't even remember. I would have to go back and look at our texts, or I'll have to call her and ask her. Because whatever she said, oh my gosh, I took it so hard. And it was such an awakening of, I really do the most. It was hard.
Oh yeah. We have to definitely break that down. That's going to be a fun podcast.
Yeah, that episode will be very interesting. I don't know what it will be on in particular or what kind of theme it will be, but yeah, we will have to do a whole episode on Sylvia does the most because she doesn't know how to do the least. But
that's funny.
But all right, let's wrap it up here. This was fun as usual. Love this as usual. We'll just see what happens on the next one.
All right.
All right. We have to come back because Lori just said some stuff that I refuse for it to not be recorded and heard by whoever needs to hear this. Tell me what you just said about what you want.
What you want wants you back. And so if you want something, we can't be afraid that it's not going to come to us. It won't, right? So we put it out there and let it go. It will come. Everything you desires you back. It's like it's racing towards you at the same rate that you're racing toward it, except if you don't think it's going to come. And if you don't think it's going to come, well, shit, it'll stop. It's not going to come. Something else shows up.
God. All right. So wait a minute. If you don't think that it's going to come, it will stop and not come towards you anymore. So you're saying that it will be replaced with something that you don't necessarily want or just anything else?
No, it's what you fear. So whatever you fear, you're asking for. And so it's very important that we focus in on what we want. That's why I was saying about, you know, the things that we don't want. It's a juxtaposition to the things that you do want. And it does tell you what you do want, but it also lets you know what you don't, and you're asking for it. Right. So that's why it's very important that you understand and know the promise. These are principles that I'm speaking of. It's not like Lori's just saying this shit. Like, I'm just saying this. No, these are principles that never lie. Principles don't lie. And principles are your friend. Like, And it's not, and it doesn't care. It's no respect of persons. It just is. What you desire wants you back. And that's anything. So if you desire what you fear, it desires you back.
So this is the whole be careful what you ask for and pray intentional prayers. Like be very specific in your prayers.
Exactly. And you know how these people, grandmamas of old, oh, I was up worrying all night. You were sitting up there asking for the wrong things for these kids, your children.
Oh my God. Okay. My mother we're going to have to bring her up. I have to constantly tell her because she is a worry wart. My mom is one of those people. I tell people all the time. I've told her she can talk you out of tying your shoes with her worrying, her negativity, just instantly. If you say, I'm going to go try and fly a kite, she will go and find you 12 newsreels of people that have been hurt, maimed, murdered by kites.
Oh no.
But that's just who she is. It comes to her so unintentionally. It just flows out of her. Mm-hmm. And we had this conversation last night about manifesting. Mm-hmm. And I say, I am constantly manifesting out loud, and I have to constantly tell her, and I told her this last night, I said, this is why when I manifest things and I say things and I ask you to be positive, I say it's because you constantly have something in the opposite direction of what I'm trying to manifest. And now I see what you're saying about what you desires you back. And I feel a certain type of way about it with her, but I know that that's her. And my husband always says people are people. And that's her people are people moment that's just who she is. She could tell you how many people got hit by a car today, how many people choked on a hot dog yesterday, just whatever. If it's a thing that you are trying to do, she can figure out a way to talk you out of it.
Right. And so the question is, and this is, everybody has a grandmama, mama, a sister, a brother who watch the news every day, all the calamities of life, the late night news, whatever. And the sad thing about the news, it really needs to be the bad, the ugly, the unlovely.
Right. It does.
The to be feared show. Right. And because it invokes fear, and that's a programming.
Yeah.
These are programs. And it's interesting that they're even called programs, but that is the thing. They're programming you on a daily to think in this way. And then when you get the result, I'm not surprised that mom thinks that way. It is whatever you ingest. And so if you have a desire, I don't know if you've ever heard of a pastor or someone saying, if there's something you want, don't tell people because they'll talk you out of it. So if you know that about your mom, and of course, we're not trying to change people.
No.
We want to change ourselves. We want to be better every day. But if we're trying to change people, people are going to imagine that might be judgment in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Or trying to change them. And so you can allow it. This is how my mom is, except for how it pertains to you.
Right. And for a long time, it was the thing that would stop me. It was the thing that would talk me out of. Or for after I realized it more, it would be don't tell her until I'm done with it.
Right.
Or don't tell her until afterward.
How'd you figure that out? That's the thing. You found out.
I don't know how I figured it out. It took a very long time to figure it out. But I'm such a sharer that, and because I constantly am seeking acknowledgement and praise and love from her, I would want to share, hey, this is happening in my life, or this is something I'm thinking about trying, or this is whatever. And she's my mom.
Yeah.
You want your mother's advice. You want to have these conversations with your mother. You want to have this communication, regardless of good, bad, or other, because you don't know how much time you have. Not everybody else has a good relationship with their mother. Not everybody else even communicates with their mother. I lost my father when I was 17. So it's like, this is what I have. This is what I'm going to hold on to.
I hear you.
Good, bad, or other. And like you said, I can't change her. So I spent that time already trying to be like, Mom, don't do this.
Right.
That's not going to work. I spent enough time being like, just don't tell her until afterward. And I spent enough time saying, regardless of what she says back, I still have to do the thing. And sometimes she does give really good advice. And sometimes she goes, well, and it makes me at least pause on what might be a snap judgment or what might be something extreme. So sometimes it does work out. So that's another reason why I think I keep doing it.
But I think that's beautiful that however you came up with how it works for you, because everybody is not going to work the same. And I'm glad that you do that and you still have this relationship with your mom. And what I will add to that is your mother is a person just like you are. Yes. She's not just your mother. And so while she is a person, she has a perspective, and her perspective at times might not line up with your perspective. And that is okay. And when we are okay with, especially as we become young adults or adults, when we reach out to our parents who are our elders, they're no longer necessarily our parent the way we kind of envision parent, like mommy, daddy, like, they become our peers, elders, and understand that they have perspective. Yeah. So, when I have figured that out, it frees me up and it frees me from expecting too much of them and being let down.
Yes. And there's another conversation that I don't know when we had it a long time ago, my husband and I, we said with people, because of the programming, how long does it take to be deprogrammed?
Wow. Ooh. That's so powerful.
Does it take as long as it took you to get to the program, to master the program, even though the program might be good, bad, or other? Does it take 5 minutes? You don't know.
You don't. And guess what? A program could be just like a not a bad compliment, because that's kind of like a contradiction in terms, but like an insult. If someone says something that you don't like, you got 20 people to give you a compliment and someone else gives you like a critique or something, that critique stays in your mind. So then you got this bad programming. Like, how long does the bad programming stay? And then is there any trauma associated with that? Right. So we don't know.
And that is exactly the program that I'm trying to wipe clear. Is it's what you said before and what you said last week about all these people are giving me compliments and they're going to get tired of it one day if I don't accept them. It's because I choose all the critiques out instead. I filter or sort out all the critiques instead of hearing the compliments. And this is another, I think we're going to have to keep going back to the 4 agreements because it just makes more sense every time. All the critiques and all the compliments still can't be personal regardless.
No. Exactly. But what's so interesting is they make up who we are.
Yes.
So we have to decide who we want to be, which goes back to me having peace. I have to decide what comes into my ear. Like if people are talking to me, like family members or friends, if they're having conversations and I feel a sense of dis-ease coming over me, or I sense a sense of frustration, I have to stop it. And not to abruptly say, oh, you're frustrating me, because nobody does anything to you that you don't allow. But as you feel it, it's like, hey, girl, let me call you back. Or you know what? My boo just walked into the room. Like step away from that, because it becomes something that infiltrates you and becomes you. The more you engage in a thing, you become the thing. Right. And that's with anything. The more you imbibe in drinking or drugs or food, you become that thing. People, if you're imbibing negative people, you become negative.
Yeah.
People are lying to you when they say, oh, I could be around her. Oh, she's been my friend for years. She ain't bothering me. People say that. I never forget one time this therapist told me, he said, if you hang around hoes, you'll be a hoe.
Pretty much.
He said birds of a feather flock together.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so profound, but annoying at the same time, because I had some friends earlier in my lifetime that were questionable.
Same.
Right. And so I was like, okay, well, and it rubs you the wrong way. Sometimes you become offended, right? You take it personally. But then after a while, he didn't say anything that was not true. That is a principle. That was true.
Yeah.
So,
and as much as the truth hurts, like that's the hard part. It's like, oh, he said something that was spot on. Ugh.
Yeah. Just like at church, when the pastor says something, you get mad, because
you're like, are they preaching towards me?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's because there's something within us that agrees. And that's the thing that we get upset with, because if we didn't agree, it don't even faze us. We won't even care if it didn't apply to us. But if a little bit of it applies, then yeah.
And it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Ooh,
right.
Okay. What you desire desires you.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay. Well, okay, we're going to call it for real this time, right?
That's it for this week's show. I'm Lori Scott.
I'm Sylvia Johnson, and you've been listening to What's Been Better.
A big thank you to Lagon Music Inc. for providing our music. This show is edited and produced by us with a little help from our family and friends. We love you all. Want to talk to us about the show? Send us an email at questions@whatsbeenbetter.com or hit us up on Instagram @whatsbeenbetterpodcast. Thanks for listening.